Last year, 63% of Americans were living paycheck to paycheck, and that's not just low-income workers. Even people who are making over $100,000 a year, of those people, 18% were still living paycheck to paycheck. And in July of 2019, 28% of adults based in the US said that they had no emergency savings. Now, some of those are probably the result of bad money habits, but unfortunately, many of us are broke because of circumstances outside of our control. I mean, hello, global pandemic. In my case, it was because both my parents had already passed away long before I graduated college, and despite me working multiple minimum wage jobs from the time I was 16, 17 on, I still graduated with my master's degree in speech language pathology and $25,000 worth of debt. Oh, not to mention I graduated into the Great Recession. No job offers, no one to ask for help. So what did I do then? Marry a rich husband, of course. Just kidding. My husband grew up in extreme poverty in rural China. All 7 of his family members slept in 1 bedroom. That's because their house only had 2 rooms. They grew up in poverty that most people in the US can't even imagine. If you're interested in knowing more about my husband's story, go down and hit the like button and comment on this video. And if this video gets 1,000 likes, I will ask him to come on and tell a little bit more about his story, including how he came to the US to California in the 90s and paid $300 to sleep in somebody's shed in the backyard. Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Marissa and I am an ex-hoarder turned minimalist, and a lot of you have been asking me recently if I have any minimalist budgeting tips that I can share with you, and oh boy do I. So today I'm going to share with you my top 10 tips for budgeting like a minimalist. These are the real actionable steps and tips that took myself and my husband to being able to save 50 to 70% of our income every single year, to paying off $250,000 worth of debt, including home, both cars, student loans, etc. Pay for our wedding and honeymoon, all cash, no help from parents. Follow our dream to move to Europe and buy a home there, and be able to furnish our new home with our dream kitchen and beautiful furniture, all cash, zero debt. And I'm not telling you our story to brag or to show off in any way, but rather I'm sharing it in the hopes that you can understand and believe if we could dig ourselves out of poverty and debt and make our dreams a reality, why couldn't you? So make sure that you watch this video all the way until the end, because every single tip is even better than the last. All right, let's get into my top 10 minimalist budgeting tips. And tip number 1 is to embrace your weirdness. We have a consumeristic society that is constantly feeding us messages that we need to be buying the newest and the latest things to feel like we are happy and successful. We've internalized these messages about consumerism and spending so much that if you get serious about saving money, you might find that you freak the people around you out. They might think that you're too weird, too cheap, too careful with your money, any number of complaints. Example, once I was at the playground with my kids and I was talking with some of the moms while our children played. They were from the local school and I knew the moms only vaguely, but we'd spoken a couple times. And one of the mothers brought up the fact that she had a big party coming up and she wanted to buy a fancy new dress for the party. And she asked, did we have any recommendations for places that she could shop? A lot of the other mothers chimed in and mentioned expensive local stores, but I personally love thrift shopping, and I mentioned to her that if she didn't mind taking some time to hunt around a little bit, she could find some absolutely beautiful brand name designer dresses, sometimes even with the tags still on. Those moms looked at me like I had sprouted 2 heads, and the one who asked for the referral actually rolled her eyes at me. Okay, Karen, I guess you don't like getting $500 dresses for $9. They never spoke to me at the park again after that. My point is, you might get pushback from some of the people around you, and I'm not just talking random people at the park. I mean, even your friends and family might think that you're being too frugal, too cheap, too whatever. Stick to your beliefs and remember what you're working towards. Which brings us to the next point, which is to write down your financial goals. What are you trying to achieve with your budgeting and or minimalist lifestyle? There's all sorts of minimalists, and just because you're a minimalist doesn't mean you're frugal or vice versa. Or maybe you're frugal in one area, but you don't mind spending money for something else. Take, for example, Steve Jobs, who famously considered himself a minimalist, wore the same outfit every single day, and at one point had almost no furniture in his home, yet he also lived in a 14,000 square foot mansion. So which is which? Extreme frugality is all about cutting expenses as much as possible so that you're saving as much money as you possibly can. On the other hand, when you apply minimalism to your finances, I think it makes it a little bit more personal and fun. While you're focused on cutting expenses for sure and spending less, you're also directing your time and energy towards creating more time and space for the things that you value in your life. I would say that financial minimalists also have a very positive relationship with money. I never look at my life in terms of what I am lacking, and I'm not trying to accumulate money in order to accumulate material possessions, but rather I'm trying to create prosperity and abundance so that I have the freedom and the time to do the things that I value and that bring me and my family joy. Think of it like a magnet. You attract what you focus on. So take some time to think about what you're trying to achieve with a minimalist lifestyle and with budgeting, and journal about it, write it down somewhere, or you can do something like I did, which is to create a vision board. My next tip is that you need to track your money and create a budget. Considering that we spend so much money in our society, it's funny that money is such a taboo topic. Money is such a taboo topic that 1 in 4 parents don't even talk to their kids about money or their financial situation. If you want to take control of your finances, you need to start tracking every single penny and create a budget that works for you. And if you have never tracked how much money you're spending, I challenge you to track every single dollar, every single penny that you spent for the next 30 days and see where your money is going. To make things easier for you, I'm going to link down below a free printable monthly expense tracker, as well as a free budget planner that come together that's going to help you track your expenses for 1 full month and then create a budget based on that. So make sure to go down and grab your printable down below. Again, it's totally free, and it's something that I created based on the method that I've used to track and budget our money for the past 12 years. Which brings me to my next tip, which is to cut expenses, especially in the big 3. I'm not talking about fancy sport leagues or posh schools here. The big 3 are the 3 categories in which most people spend the bulk of their income, and these include housing, food, and transportation. People tend to start cutting their expenses from smaller categories like clothing or entertainment, but often you're going to find that you get more bang for your buck if you trim the fat from those big 3 areas first. This is where minimalism really can help you shine. When you start decluttering, you might find that you don't have as much stuff. When you don't have as much stuff, maybe you don't need such a big house. If you don't need such a big house, you can downsize, and that means a smaller mortgage payment. If you live in the city, maybe you decide you don't need that car and you can take a bicycle everywhere. As for us, we sold both of our cars when we moved overseas, and we do have 1 car here. I did not get a car for myself, and we almost always walk or take public transportation, except for longer distances. I found that being able to cut the food budget made a huge difference in our monthly bottom line. We save so much money every single month because I'm able to take the simplest, cheapest, healthiest ingredients and turn it into multiple meals and healthy snacks for my family. In fact, I have to say I kind of regret how good I've gotten at cooking, because now my husband never wants to go out to eat because he says my food is just as good as the restaurant food. My 5th tip is to think free and cheap. Before you go out and buy something new, take a moment to consider, is this something that you could get totally free? When it comes to toys, my kids don't want fancy bath toys. What they want is an empty ketchup and soap bottle to squirt at each other in the bathtub. I've taken things that I literally found in the trash and turned them into beautiful home decor pieces. And luckily with the internet, there's entire online groups that are dedicated to trading free things in order to save money and live sustainably. Look for local buy nothing groups, and you can give and exchange free goods. But minimalism, as we know, isn't just about finding the cheapest thing. You also want to find something that you're going to be happy with and that adds value to your life. Even if you're not able to find what you want totally free, that still doesn't mean that you need to pay absolute top dollar for it. Many times you're able to comparison shop around and you can find similar options for a fraction of the cost. My sixth tip is to practice mindful spending, and I've already done an entire video on mindful spending, which I will link up here. If you're someone who tends to overspend every single month because you're a shopaholic, there are ways to put brakes on your spending and to save more money every month. Tip number 7 is your time is money. One of my favorite quotes goes something like this: look around. All that clutter used to be money. All that money used to be time. When you start thinking about buying something, think about how many hours you would have to work to be able to afford that item. When you start thinking of your money in terms of the time it takes, maybe the expensive things that you're looking at buying don't seem as attractive anymore. That goes along with tip number 8, which is to increase your income. Now, anyone with common sense knows that you can only cut so much from your budget before there's nothing left to cut. What do you do if you've cut everything that you possibly could and then at the end of the month you're still in the red? We need food, we need shelter, we need clothes, unless we're nudists, I guess. Then you need to increase your income. Now, back when I was in college, I did that by taking on a second or a third job. But now a little thing called the internet has made it easier than ever to start a side hustle to create extra income. And a lot of the times you don't even need to leave the comfort of your own home. In fact, my minimalism journey started when I started decluttering the 30 years of clutter that I'd been hoarding following my parents' deaths. And I started selling it off online, and I would post in between my kids' nap times when I was a stay-at-home mom, and I was easily making $1,000 a month or more. If you're interested in knowing more about how to start selling your clutter online for cash, I will link a video that I've done above. Now, keep in mind in this video, I mentioned that I made $15,000 selling our clutter online, and I recently went back and I totaled everything from the time I started until the time that we moved, and I made, in actuality, $50,000 selling our clutter online. Keep in mind that this includes an entire household with 30 years of clutter and 2 cars, but still, all of that unwanted stuff turned into money. Basically, if you need to make a little bit of extra cash, your own closet is a great place to start. Other common side hustles included walking dogs, driving for Uber, reselling thrift flip stuff to make money, or even starting a blog or a YouTube channel. Tip number 9 is to automate your savings and your payments. How often have you opened an envelope or you logged into your bank account to see some sneaky fee tacked on because you forgot to pay a bill on time or you got some overdraft charge? For example, Chase Bank charges up to $39 for one single late fee on a credit card. If you look at what the average savings account yields, even if you have $1,000 in there with 0.1% APY, then you're still only making 10 cents for that $1,000 by the end of the year. That doesn't really seem fair, does it? They give so little and yet take so much. If you make sure that you always have enough money in your bank account to pay your bills on time and automate your bill payments, then you're less likely to miss a payment and incur some kind of late fee. Then you just have to simply log in each week or on a monthly basis to check and make sure everything is going as planned. It also pays to pay yourself first. See what I did there? If you find it hard to save money if you have it in your hand or if you see it in your check account, why not instead try putting the amount that you want to save immediately into your savings account and then living off the rest that's left over after that. So instead of saving whatever's left over after spending, you spend whatever's left over after saving. Sounds crazy, right? But it's a great way to turn saving into a habit. And my final tip, tip number 10, is to continue to educate yourself. I'm so passionate about money and budgeting that I could literally sit here and talk to you for days at a time on end, but then this video would be thousands of hours long and literally no one would want to watch it. So I'm just gonna leave you with the final point, which is to continue to educate yourself about personal finance, budgeting, saving money, and making money. So much personal finance knowledge is right there at our fingertips. There are entire YouTube channels and websites handing out free information on how to budget, how to save more money, and how to increase your income. There's also plenty of 5-star rated personal finance books that you can get from Amazon or your local library that you can continue to educate yourself with. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you're interested in hearing more ways to live minimally and save more money, increase your income, go down and hit the subscribe button, and please subscribe to my channel. We would love to see you around again soon. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.